Welcome to SwagTips. Today we will be reviewing the Miku Hatsune Winter Figma here. Now, I'm just messing with you guys. We're here to talk about Mamoswine. Yeah, so Mamoswine's Community Day next weekend. Awesome. And now we know what the special move is, Ancient Power. A lot of us probably aren't too surprised about Ancient Power. It's kind of predicted in the past, looking at our star charts there. Main reason being is Mamoswine in the main series games evolves from a Piloswine that knows Ancient Power. There's actually several Pokemon that have this kind of niche going on with them in the main series where knowing Ancient Power and then leveling up causes them to evolve. Yanmega is one such Pokemon, but this feature is not present in Pokemon Go. So it's just a nice little echo to it, but it's just a little extra spice to the Mamoswine Community Day there. Out for the raid meta, Mamoswine's insane. Yeah, it's the best ice type to date. We were talking about this like a year ago. Mamoswine definitely redefining the game as far as ice types are concerned. So these are counters to the level 40 tier 5 Rayquaza raid using the new raid boss stats, right? So you can see frickin' Mamoswine here, finger in the air, Omega Pokemon on top, right? And a lot of people have been wondering, like, well, what about the Rayquaza solo, or the Rayquaza, I guess. Y'all gonna get mad at me if I call it Rayquaza, so I gotta back it up here. Yeah, y'all wondering about the Rayquaza solo. And what you need nowadays, in order to get the solo in, is 50 DPS. And without a weather boost, Mamoswine is basically there. He's on top of it, nearly soloing the Rayquaza. You want a duo? Look no further than frickin' Mamoswine here, right? Looking through this chart here, we got the Ice Beam Mewtwo, not nearly as hot as Mamoswine. We got Weavile, pretty hot, but not nearly as hot as Mamoswine. Down here we got Dialga with its Nido resistances, not being as cool as the other Pokemon here. And even Rampardos, the ultimate Rock-type Pokemon with stupid mega broken DPS, not nearly as hot as the Mamoswine, even with a weather boost. Can't even touch Mamoswine's DPS in this particular matchup. Now, this isn't to say that Rampardos is bad at all. That's certainly not the case. It's just Rayquaza is doubly weak to ice and only single weak to rock. So, bam. And there we are. Yeah, then Rayquaza itself not doing so good. Now, of course, this is a raid that plays to Mamoswine's strengths. I mean, Piloswine was already a really good counter to Rayquaza, and Mamoswine's like basically the next level of Piloswine, right? It's a Piloswine that can see, and when you look into its eyes, all you see is anger, right? And the destruction of dragons. So, yeah. When it comes to other raids like ground-type Pokemon, like Groudon or Grass-type Pokemon, Mamoswine probably won't be as potent as more specialized counters to those particular raid bosses, but we are in a specialist meta. So when Rayquaza comes back, we're all expecting it to come back. Mamoswine is going to be the guy that you'll want to go to. Then when it comes to other raid bosses that are just like flying type, grass type, ground type, Mamoswine might not be the king in those. Excuse me. Hi. Can you go jingle somewhere else? No? Okay. Well, when it comes to those other raids where Mamoswine isn't like the specialist king, it's still going to be a really good counter. Really bulky stats, really good ice-type DPS. I mean, it's blessed with Powdered Snow, which gains energy really quickly, and it's blessed with Avalanche, which is the most powerful ice-type charge move in all of Pokemon Go. So it'll be potent there. We do have a community day, so we can get Mamoswines in excess, and I mean, I don't know about you guys in other parts of the world, but here in southeastern Wisconsin, like, Swinubs have been just the most common thing ever since Gen 2 came out. So I think we'll all have plenty to evolve, ready to be groomed, maybe even lucky traded. Level 35, level 35 weather boosted. So yeah, Mamoswine, insanely good Pokemon, right? Throughout. Now, this has people wondering, though, well, what about that Ancient Power? And what about PvP? And I gotta be honest, I don't think Ancient Power matters that much. Like, Mamoswine's gonna be great in PvP. Like, let me not derail the topic here. But I don't think Ancient Power is really gonna help Mamoswine from being this PvP Masters. So I'm gonna get into PvP first, and then I'll talk about Ancient Power. Let's go about it that way. So how does Mamoswine fit into this Master League simplification here, right? Well, if you're going to look at how good a Pokemon is in the Master League, first you have to look at the Elite Four and see how well they're performing there. And Mamoswine has the advantage against Groudon, Lugia, and Giratina. It can counter all three of these guys because it's a big, bulky, ugly, Ice-type Pokemon, right? Weavile's already basically doing that job pretty well, but Weavile is a little bit fragile. Mamoswine, not so fragile, right? Now, Mamoswine does still have problems with the Melmetal here. You might be thinking, well, Ryan Swag, Bulldoze. Bulldoze can save the day, but not really. Yeah, Melmetal has Rock Slide, which is neutral to Mamoswine because ground resists, ice is weak, so it's neutral damage, and then ice is weak to Flash Cannon. So overall, I'd say a well-equipped Melmetal has the advantage overall in the Mamoswine fight. So, sorry, Mamoswine. Not much getting past Melmetal in the Master League, to be honest. Now, when it comes to the other Pokemon in the Master League that are featured here, you do have the other Flying-type Pokemon, which Mamoswine, Ice-type Pokemon, much like Weavile, has an advantage over. You got Swampert and Machamp, Fighting and Water-type damage, still have the advantage on the Mamoswine. But you got these two guys here, the Electric types, Mamoswine, Ground-type, double resists, takes them out right there pretty handily. And then when it comes to these guys, I'd say overall the matchup is more so in their favor, just like it is with Melmetal. So I feel like Mamoswine definitely fits in this meta. It will be a more consistent version of Weavile here, in my opinion, and will definitely be a potent force. But as far as the moveset goes, I think you're going to want to go with the Powdered Snow, Avalanche, and Bulldoze, and just skip the Rock-type coverage altogether. About Mamoswine in the Ultra League, it still counters Giratina, and people that follow SwagTips, you know I haven't done my Ultra League content yet in general, so I don't know the league in a simplified way. All I know is that Giratina is like the biggest, baddest thing in the Ultra League, and Mamoswine is a Pokemon that has a positive matchup against it, so overall, probably a good option in the Ultra League. When it comes to the Great League, well, there you'd probably much rather use Piloswine, so yeah, I mean, it could be like a pseudo Piloswine. They do basically the same thing, but Piloswine's probably a bit better in the Great League. So this is the PvP charge move list from Game Press. So it's just basically all the PvP charge move stats here. So Avalanche, super good move, and it's only 45 energy cost for 90 damage, which is insane. It's one of the best charge moves in the game for PvP. It's got 2 damage per energy, which is like basically like as high as you can go without being a special community day like Omega move like Blast Burn or Frenzy Plant or some nonsense, right? So Avalanche, busted attack. Avalanche is like the main thing Mamoswine wants to be doing. And when you look at, where is it? Ancient Power is 45 energy cost, the same energy cost as Avalanche. So if Ancient Power were to be useful to Mamoswine, it would be useful if it had a 40 or like a 35 energy cost, because then you can artificially lower the energy cost of Avalanche by baiting your opponent's shields with the lower energy cost move. But Ancient Power really doesn't give you that kind of utility. And because they have such similar coverage, like there's a ton of overlap between rock and ice type coverage, like overall, in a like a big brain kind of way, there really isn't a whole lot of reason to use Ancient Power over Avalanche. Like, when's Mamoswine gonna be, I guess, fighting like a fire type Pokemon that like isn't taking neutral from Ancient Power, etc. Like, I mean, I can see arguments for Ancient Power, but overall it's nothing that Mamoswine really wants to have. And you also have the Stone Edge here, and Stone Edge is pretty good. 55 energy cost, a little steep, but 100 base damage and 1.82 DPE, especially when you can bait shields with Avalanche, I think might be a bit better, than Ancient Power. I mean, if Mamoswine didn't have Avalanche, if it had like Blizzard or something like that, then Ancient Power would definitely like rise up in value, but that's not the case. We already have like the busted, ubiquitous move that we want to be using, and that is Avalanche, right? Now, another thing to rope into the picture is Bulldoze. Bulldoze is a pretty poor attack in PvP, but it does give Mamoswine ground type coverage. So when it comes to threats like Melmetal or Heatran, Tyranitar, in the future, Dialga in PvP, even though they overall have the advantage on Mamoswine, if Mamoswine does have like leftover energy from a previous KO or something to that effect, that Bulldoze could smack them real hard, maybe take them out, and that's something that a rock type charge move really wouldn't give Mamoswine. So I'd say Mamoswine's like worst matchups that are going to be common for it in PvP really aren't going to be dealt with rock type charge moves. It's going to be the ground type Bulldoze. If you remember from my previous live stream, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, where I talked about Mamoswine, I was really hoping that it would get Earth Power. Earth Power is a move that's currently not in Pokemon Go. It was like data mined or found in the game traffic like months ago, but hasn't been in the game in a way where we can see what stats it has or what Pokemon are going to get it. So I was hoping it would get Earth Power as a lower cost charge move that's ground type, that's not Bulldoze, right? To give Mamoswine a little bit better utility there, but it didn't get it. So Mamoswine kind of stuck with Bulldoze. So I can see arguments for Ancient Power. It's not a terrible move. I mean, you could hit, bug types that also aren't flying type Pokemon harder or something, right? Or pure fire type Pokemon that aren't sub-steel or sub-fighting type a bit harder, maybe. You know, I think the utility of Ancient Power is really limited, where Bulldoze actually has some usefulness for Mamoswine. And then overall, Mamoswine definitely will not want to get rid of Avalanche, because it's like the most busted Ice-type charge move in the game. So, yeah. That's my feelings towards the Ancient Power there. I think Ancient Power is some nice flavor for Mamoswine, because like it does call back to its like evolution in the main series games, but I think overall not that great. Now, as far as like the hype of the Mamoswine Community Day goes, I don't think there's any hype lost, because most definitely Mamoswine is the ultimate ice type Pokemon in PvE content, so like raids. If you need an ice type for something, Mamoswine is 1000% your guy. But when it comes to PvP, having a dragon, a ground, a flying type counter, Mamoswine, also your guy. Really awesome in the Master League, also really potent in the Ultra League, where the Dialga, not Dialga, where the Giratina is king. So Mamoswine, definitely a bust Pokemon that you definitely want to have. That was a clip from my live stream SwagTips. SwagTips streams every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Time on the Twitch channel SwagTips. If you got any questions on this content, comment below, let me know what's up. And if you like this content and you want to see more like it, well then make sure to subscribe to SwagTips. One cool detail that I forgot to mention at the end of the live stream there was Ancient Power does have the potential to become one of those buffing moves that was data mined a couple months ago. We haven't heard anything in the game about them since that, but if Ancient Power were to become a move that could buff Mamoswine's stats in the middle of a PvP battle, that could give it some utility over Bulldoze. So it could be mindful to have a couple, Ancient Power Mamoswine stowed away. But aside from that, you may want to evolve your Mamoswines after the event, so you don't have to waste a charge TM to switch to Avalanche, because in the current game, Ancient Power is not so hot. So verdict, have a couple just in case, but for the most part, save your evolutions until after the event, so you don't have to waste a charge TM getting rid of Ancient Power, right? SwagTips. Oh my god, I'm going to turn that off before I go insane. It's not stopping. Oh my god. There we go. The heater. Like, I just don't want to deal with that right now.